I've been called an informant. I've been called a rat. I've been called a cooperating witness. Let me make this clear. I absolutely did sit down and talk to the government. I'm going to explain all of that now. I'm not going to explain it away to try to defend myself. I'm just going to tell you the facts and the truth. And again, I invite anybody out there to critique this and show evidence to the contrary. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. And as always, I give God all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving for that. Speaking of Thanksgiving, hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, a wonderful celebration on Thanksgiving Day. Hope you ate just enough to satisfy you, not too much, to gain too much extra weight. We had a great day, great weekend. I always love this holiday because it's all about food on Thursday, family, friends getting together, no presents of any kind, and then you got 3 days to recover and to relax afterwards. So it's a great holiday. We're now officially into the holiday Christmas season. Yes, I still say Christmas. Yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, the birth of Jesus we celebrate on December 25th. So please, people, remember the reason for the season. Family, get together, Thanksgiving, celebrate the Savior of the world, his birthday, but just have a great time. I know there are people struggling in other parts of the world, and we pray for them. We really do. Hopefully there's some peace that can come out of this. I don't know. It's a tough situation. Not going to get into that now. But we here in America at least can enjoy and be thankful for all the privileges and the blessings that we have here in this country. Through all the challenges, nothing is perfect. We understand that. But hey, we're a lot better off than a lot of people in other parts of the world. Today, I'm going to do something that I can't say I'm thrilled with doing this, quite honestly, but when you live on YouTube in a way like I do, you live on social media, obviously there's going to be people that like you, people that don't like you. When you come from a background that I came from, the mob, people are going to have their issues with you, and I totally get it. I totally understand it, believe me, and everybody is entitled to their opinion as long as their opinion is not hurting anybody physically or emotionally in any way. They're entitled to that, But listen, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of negativity that comes out of social media in general, and I think most people know that. Somebody recently asked me, Michael, if you had your choice to either have social media or not have social media, what would it be? I'd go back to the old days, no social media. That would be my choice because I think it's very detrimental to a lot of people, especially our young people who have more distractions today at their fingertips than we ever had as kids growing up. And I think it was a more wholesome time back then than it is now. Everything is so fast. Everything travels so fast. Information is instantaneous, whether it's good or bad. And unfortunately, a lot of misinformation travels the same way. So I'm going to answer some questions today that many of you have been asking me. And the reason I'm doing that, look, I have a lot of loyal followers. If you would have said to me 2.5, almost 3 years ago, if I would have had 1 million subs and 150 million views on YouTube alone, I would have said, you're crazy. That's a big number. And that is an impressive number on YouTube. Trust me. It just happened, people. We put out content. You liked it. You enjoy it. And as a result, you support the channel. And I really appreciate that. I don't live on YouTube, so to speak. Fortunately, I have other things going on in my life, but I enjoy it because I enjoy the interaction and I like the fact that people enjoy what we have to do. But, there are things out there and, a lot of misinformation, a lot of talk about me, and I want to straighten two things out, okay? And you're going to hear this from me. And remember, whenever anybody gets on YouTube and wants to state things that are factual, they better be factual. Because there are people out there that are going to critique it, they're going to do the research, and they're going to try to find holes in what it is you are saying. There are unfortunately people out there on many sites, and I'm not just pointing fingers at anyone. because there are a number of people that have taken shots at me, which again, I understand. You put yourself out there, it's part of the deal. But there's a lot of misinformation coming out, and I want to straighten it out once and for all of you, because I get asked this all the time. And look, you know, when you're on YouTube and your name gets mentioned, we have feeds, and those feeds come in and you read things. So it's kind of impossible not to know things, you know. I get hit up all the time. Michael, this person said this and that person said that, and is this true? And I think I kind of owe it to my loyal followers out there, you know, just to put out what I know to be the truth and the fact. And remember, when I say this, I'm opening myself up, because people can immediately go and investigate and say, is this true? Does this really happen? And if it's not, they're going to come forward with it. I know it already. There are a lot of sites out there that believe that they're investigators. There are a lot of sites out there that make a living on YouTube critiquing other people and really trying to find the dirt or the holes in what they say, and maybe trying to support them in a good way also. I'll give it both ways. So I want to talk about something that's significant, that's come up, you know, quite a bit in recent times. And by the way, I've dealt with this already, and some of the information, most all of the information that I'm going to talk about today, I've already stated it before, 2 years ago. And this was about a Newsday story that came out about me and my family. I've dealt with this. It's out there 2 years ago. So somebody that's really researching this could have went back and looked at this. It's 2 years old, but it's there. It got 516,000 views, so enough people did see it. But anyway, it's coming up again and it's current, and let me just deal with it once and for all. Let me try to also say this. This is not an excuse. This is just telling my people and my followers what really happened and why. What was in my head, why I did what I did. But more than that, I'm going to give you supporting information to show that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth and very accurate. Now, let me tell you this also. We're going to be talking about events that happened some 30 years ago. Am I crystal clear on it? No. Could I possibly made a mistake? Possibly, but not on the substance of what it is I'm going to tell you. So remember that. The substance of what I'm going to be telling you is going to be supported by evidence and documentation, and I invite people to come and blow holes in it. Say whatever you want to say. Now let me also say this. I've been called an informant. I've been called a rat. I've been called a cooperating witness. Let me make this clear. I absolutely did sit down and talk to the government. I'm going to explain all of that now. I'm not going to explain it away to try to defend myself. I'm just going to tell you the facts and the truth. And again, I invite anybody out there to critique this and show evidence to the contrary. Evidence, not, oh, well, I think it could have happened this way, and maybe it happened this way, and, you know, you talk to the government, you're whatever. Just, you know, do what I'm doing now and support whatever it is you're going to say with evidence, with the facts. I have absolutely no problem in telling you what I'm going to tell you now. And by the way, if people want to call me a rat, people on the street will call me a rat because I did sit down and talk to the government, and that's what you're considered to be, a rat. A cooperating witness, that's what you're considered to be. An informant, that's what you're considered to be, possibly. And the reason I say possibly is because I'm going to lay this out, and then you're going to make the decision. You're going to decide whether it is. So I'm going to do this in two parts. Number one, I'm going to talk about what I did with the government, my agreement, my cooperation with the government. I'm going to lay it all out. That's number one. Number two, and this is painful, some people seem to always want to talk about my relationship with my dad. Now, let me explain this. That's going to be part two. I'm not going to do this now. Sonny Franzese, whether he's my father, whether he's my stepfather, whether he's my adopted father, he is the only father that I know. That's it. I've known him since birth. He's my father. Did we always get along? Did we have some issues between us? Yes. As a result of my walking away from that life? Yes. Okay, but I'm not going to get into that now. I'm going to get into the detail because what does trouble me, nobody knows the personal discussions my dad and I had between one another. Nobody knows that. Not a person in the world knows that. My father never got on YouTube or did an interview with anybody and talked negative about me. Never. He has no cause to, okay? Nor did I get on and say anything negative about him. I only said the truth. I said this before and I'll say it again. Yes, my father died with his boots on. I respect him for that. He took an oath he wouldn't violate. But on the same token, he took an oath to my mother when he married her. And my family was destroyed as a result of my dad's involvement in that life. So he made a choice. His choice was to honor his oath, and my family was destroyed. You decide whether that's the right thing or not. You decide. But I'm going to get into that in detail. The discussions I had with my dad, what really went on between us, the relationship at the end, everything. Because people want to bring up my personal relationship with my father. And they want to you did this and you didn't do that, you didn't do this, like they know. These are just people that want to capitalize on the Franzese name because they don't know. No one knows the personal relationship I have with my dad. I had with my dad, God rest his soul, and my mother, God rest her soul, and my brother, who I happen to love right now. So we'll talk about that another time. But let's talk about this. First of all, let me get one thing straight. When I took a plea in 1985, I took a plea to racketeering in the Eastern District of New York. Ed McDonald was the prosecutor. When I took that plea, there was zero cooperation with the government. No cooperation. The plea agreement can probably be found, Freedom of Information Act, or whatever way you find it. There was zero cooperation. I did not sit down with the government. I did not talk to the government. There was none. Why did I take the plea? Because I decided at that point in time that this life was seriously in trouble. The Racketeering Act was devastating. Devastating. No question about it. Okay, so I decided to take a plea because I met a young girl who's now my wife of 38 years, and I didn't want to marry her and abandon her because I was a major target of law enforcement. What do I mean by that? I was arrested some 18 times. I was indicted 7 times. I had 2 federal racketeering cases, 1 state racketeering case in the state of Florida. I went to trial 5 times. 3 of those times in the state of New York resulted in a hung jury, and it was finally dismissed. The 4th time in the state of New York, it was dismissed after the prosecution's case for lack of evidence. And then I went on trial in a Giuliani case for several months, and I was acquitted in that case. Okay? So, 5 times I was a major target. And there was no way that they were going to let me go in that life had I continued. And you know what? Guys were getting 50, 70, 80, 100 years. I was one of the youngest guys. After beating them so many times, I realized that they were going to give me a ton of time. I would spend the rest of my life in prison. So I said, this life is in trouble. Now, did I say, I'm mad at this guy? I want to hurt this guy? No. Did I say the life is bad? No. I just wanted out. Okay? So here's what happens. I take a plea. Why did I get a plea? 10-year prison sentence, $15 million restitution, $5 million of forfeitures. The reason I got the plea is because the principal witness, my partner, Larry Irizzo, who he and I devised the scheme, our scheme, there were other people doing it. I believe we did it the best. We lasted for 8 years, had the Russians involved, and everybody was buying from us. We devised the scheme. He became an informant. He testified against me in the Giuliani case. The jury didn't believe him. He was destroyed on the stand and shown to be a liar. So now the government is worried. He was the principal witness against me in the next case in the Eastern District. When I realized that we had destroyed them and the government was leery of this next case, I told my lawyer, let's take a plea. The government will be ready now. We have some leverage. We beat their main witness. Boom, we go negotiate the plea. 10-year prison sentence, like I just said. Was there cooperation? Zero. Did I sit down with the government? No. No cooperation. That was a straight plea agreement. I go into jail in 1985. I'm in Terminal Island, California. I had it pretty good. I was in the South Yard. Ask people that were in the South Yard. I had my own cell. Had a television in there. My wife was able to visit me 45 minutes from my house. I'm doing my time. I'm in there 4 years. I had done some other little time, so I did maybe a total of 5 years altogether in prison. Okay, great. This is great. I'll be home in 2 years on a 10-year sentence. I was under the old law. The old law. I didn't have to do 85% of my time. I could have made parole. But even if I maxed out, I would have been home in 2 years. I'm minding my own business, sitting in there, and 3 o'clock in the morning, I get woken up. Franzese, you're being transferred. Transferred where? They said I was going to Chicago, but along the way, they dropped me off in Oklahoma, ready to take me to Chicago. Long story short, there's a detail. I find out what it was all about. Norby Walters was under investigation. Did I know Norby Walters? Once again, yes. I knew him since birth practice. He was my father's partner. I called him Uncle Norby. He was he had a partnership with my dad in a nightclub right next to the Copacabana called the Norby Walters. The place closed when somebody got shot and killed in the place. But he was my dad's partner in the entertainment business. He was an agent for a lot of black talent at the time, major black talent. Did I get involved when my father went away? Yes, he was with me during that time. Did I ever take $1 off of him? Not one penny. Not a penny. My brother took money off him. I never did. And I protected him. I had to intervene when there was a situation with Michael Jackson. I had to intervene a few times with him when there was problems that came up. He's under investigation because he was in the sports business and he did something wrong. What did he do? And I was his partner there. I gave him some money. What did he do? He was signing college athletes before their eligibility. He was paying them money under the table. And then later on, when they wanted to leave him for whatever reason, he was threatening them and he was using my name, my father's name. So they were investigating it. That was it. So they picked me up because of the fact that he was using my name to threaten people. I was in jail for almost 4 years or 5 years, whatever it was. I didn't know any of this. I wasn't in touch with him during that time. Had no idea. But they said, listen, you were part of this. You know, your father might have been a part of this. And, you know, maybe we can indict you, maybe not. You know, we don't know, but we know that you were a part of this because you used your name and it's all over the tapes. Okay. At that time, I sent word to my father. I said, Dad, we got to get word to Norby. I'm not going down for this, and neither are you. I don't want to be involved in this at all. I'm going home in 2 years. Okay. We sent word to Norby because we heard they were going to give him 16 months on a plea. He refused. He refused. Now, let me go back a little bit. Norby Walters, 3 times I saved his life. 3 times. Corky Vastola, who was with the Jersey crew, wanted to take over a lot of what Norby had going. So he went to Carmine Persico and said, Norby Walters is using the Colombo name, the Franzese name. He doesn't pay anything. He's doing the wrong thing, and we should kill him. Okay? I stopped that. Later on, Persico came to me again. Franzese, what's happening? Michael, what's happening? This guy is not paying up. Let's kill him. He's using your name. I'm hearing it all over. I saved him again. Don't worry about it, Junior. He's my father's guy. My father will be home on parole. Let him deal with it. I convinced Junior to back off. My father comes home, set up a meeting with Norby. We set it up in the Stage Delicatessen on 57, whatever street it was, 7th Avenue. Okay, we're in there. My father tells Norby, I'm your partner. Norby says, Sonny, I don't remember it that way. My father will never forget. He said, if your head is face down in that corned beef sandwich that you're eating, may that remind you that I'm your partner? It started to get a little testy. I jumped in. Dad, don't worry about it. I worked this out with Norby. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to fix this. He's going to start paying this and that and that. And I said, Norby, you don't tell that to my father afterwards. 3 times I saved him. Now I'm telling him, take a plea. Stop. You know what you did. Okay? He wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. So I put it on record with my dad at that time. They're subpoenaing me to testify in that case. I'm going to do it. I don't know that he threatened anybody. I don't know what he did. But yes, he was my partner. They knew that. They had surveillance tapes in the office where I was with him. Okay, my brother-in-law Dean was with me, brought a paper bag full of money at the time. Okay, carried it in there. They were I believe they also got a hold of my brother-in-law Dean at the time. Whatever. He wouldn't do it. I told him, subpoena me. I'll testify. Now, let me explain this. I was one of 25 witnesses, thereabouts. Don't hold me on the number. Okay, but who testified against him? The athletes that he was threatening. Somebody from Notre Dame. He had tons of material witnesses that testified against him. I was window dressing. Yes, he was involved in organized crime. Yeah, my dad, he was in a grand jury 3 times for my father. Everybody knew that he knew my father. We grew up with him. We were out together, of course. Yes, he was associated with us. That's what I said. Okay, and yes, I was his partner. Yes, I knew what he was doing, but I didn't know that he was threatening people. No, I didn't allow that. I didn't acknowledge that. I didn't tell him it was okay. But he felt it was okay to use that was my testimony. I didn't have any substantive testimony about the acts that he actually committed because I wasn't there. I was in jail. Norby got convicted. Did he get convicted solely on my testimony, like everybody likes to say? Do your work. Do your research. Before you want to lay it all on me, do your work. You're all out there claiming to be researchers, that you know a lot. Do the work. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong and let the public know it. Because what I'm telling you is an absolute fact. Now, at that time, after I testified, Norby got convicted. And by the way, Norby didn't do 1 day in jail. It was overturned on a technicality. And people like to say, well, he would have went to jail if it wasn't a technicality. Maybe, but it wasn't solely based on my testimony. I didn't call up and say, hey, I agree to cooperate. Hey, I'm becoming an informant. Hey, bring me in. Hey, I want to do this. I'm sitting in Terminal Island for 4 years doing my time, ready to go home. They came to me and subpoenaed me during that time. Let's get it straight. So now fast forward, what happens after that? Now I'm in Chicago, and here's what happens. Ed McDonald and the Eastern District of New York hear that I testified in the Norby Walters case, right? Oh my God, his life is in danger. He testified, he's going to become an informant, this and that and that. And I had told the people in Chicago, I said, listen, I may be putting myself in a lot of trouble here just by taking the stand, even though I had put it on record with my father. I did that beforehand. I let him know what I was going to do, so he knew that. And I'm sure he put it on record where it had to go at that time. Nobody cared about Norby Walters. And I think that's a fact that nobody will deny, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to support that with some evidence in a minute. Okay, so now, Ed McDonald, when he hears that, oh my gosh, Michael Franzese took the stand, his life is in danger. They fly out to Chicago, Ed McDonald and a couple of the agents, and they request a meeting with me, and we have a meeting in the conference room of the U.S. Attorney, Anton Valukas. That's his name, look it up. Anton Valukas there, a couple of the agents from Chicago, and a contingency of people, FBI and Ed McDonald from the Eastern District. Franzese, you're a dead man anyway. You testified. We want you to cooperate with us. You know what my words were back then? Ed, I hate you guys. You framed my father. You put me in jail. I'm not going to do anything to help any of you guys. Nothing. This was a one-shot deal. Back and forth, that was it. But you're a dead man and this and that and that. If you ask for it, they want us to support maybe a sentence reduction for you. And we're not going to do it. I said, I don't care. I got 2 years left. I'll do my time. End of story. They stopped. The FBI agent involved at that time, I'm not going to mention his name, but you can look him up. I'm just not going to mention his name. Brings me outside. He says, Michael, you're making us look bad. I remember it was like it was yesterday. You're making us look bad. You know, at least talk to them. I said, I'm not going to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. I said, these people destroyed my life, destroyed my family, framed my father. I'm not going to talk to them. We had a long discussion. And he said to me, a few people were there from Chicago, and they said, listen, we're going to give you some information. And this is going to be very helpful. I said, what? Put a time limit on your testimony. I said, what do you mean? He said, put a time limit because I'm going to give you some inside information. The strike force in New York that Ed McDonald was in charge of, look it up, is disbanding. It's going to be no more. They're not going to know what they're doing. Put a 1 year cooperation time limit on it and then do what you do best. Just do what you do best in this area. Do what you do best. They'll never make a case. I turned around and I said, 1 year. I said, you know what I can do in 1 year? That's too long. He said, no, listen to me. They said, listen to me. They won't be able to make a case if you handle it properly. He convinced me. I go back inside. I said, 1 year. You get what you got to get out of me for 1 year. After that, I'm done. And I want it in writing. That was the deal. Got it in writing, okay? Because they said at that point, yeah, if you sign that, we'll support a sentence reduction. They said that at the time. Ed McDonald said it. Now I want to play something from Ed McDonald's mouth so that you know that everything that I'm telling you is accurate right time. I want to play something. This is Ed McDonald himself talking.
Anton Valukas, he called me up and, said, hey, congratulations, you did a great job in convicting Michael Franzese, but he's cooperating with us and, we're going to come into New York and we're going to support his motion for a reduced sentence. And I said, no, you're not. You're going to be completely nuts. Norby Walters don't cut it. He's able to give up Carmine Persico, and he probably sat down with Gotti and Fat Tony Salerno and Chin Gigante. I mean, Michael was up there in the leadership of the Colombo crime family, and he was a huge earner, and he had the ability to give us all sorts of very significant people.
You saw what Ed McDonald had to say. Now let me take this a step further. Ever since that cooperation deal, I didn't give them anything. I didn't give them anything. All I did was screw them around, quite honestly. Told them things that I knew could lead nowhere. Because as I sit here, I am telling you, I did not want to put anybody in jail. I wasn't mad at anybody. I wasn't mad at the life. We had our ups and downs in that life, but I got it. This wasn't the Boy Scouts. I understood. Sometimes things get a little treacherous. I got it. And I agreed to that. So it wasn't me getting even or getting mad, or they didn't do this for me or they didn't do that for me. No, I just didn't want to hurt anybody. And I didn't want to put my father in a position where I was hurting anybody. And by the way, as part of this agreement, I said, don't even mention a word to me about my dad. Not happening. His name will never enter my lips. Done. And that never happened. Okay? That was it. So what did I do for a year? I just screwed them around. Okay? Now there's some talk out there that I give information about people out of town. Bring me that. I don't even know what they're talking about. That I gave information on other mob places out of town. All I can tell you is this. What was important to me, not to put out any information that could put anybody in jeopardy or ever have them go to prison. Now, for those of them that are saying, well, you might have given information that it might have led to something that led to a problem later on, show me. Show me that. I knew exactly what I was doing. Exactly. And they were so disorganized through that year. And by the way, the strike force did disband. Ed McDonald went into private practice. He left. All the agents that were assigned to the strike force, they left. Look it up. This is documented. I'm not making it up. And within that 1 year period, they could not make a case based upon anything that I told them. Purposely. That's how I engineered it, based upon the information that I was given that was 100% accurate. So again, you can call me a rat, you can call me an informant, you can call me a cooperator, call me whatever you want, that's up to you. It's okay, I get it, I understand that, okay? But my goal was never to hurt anybody. And I didn't hurt anybody in my former life. Nobody. Okay, now, I want to give a little bit more evidence to that. John Gleason, he wrote The Gotti Wars. Let me tell you a little bit about John Gleason.